Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Bees of Boxing with Steve Swift. Or this week, I hope that's Chapstick. Maybe he's trying to get a deal with Carmex. Listen, just be like LL Cool J and just lick them all the time. Mwah. That's what we're saying right now. Listen, if this wasn't the Bees of Boxing, I don't even know what it would be. It'd probably be something else. You'd probably be a little bit more entertained. But that isn't the case, because you're here with us and you're here with the pugilistic prophet himself, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the tower of power, one Mr. Steve Swift. How you doing this week, Steve?
I'm fine, actually. I'm a little sweaty.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's warm here. You look like you've got a tan, and look at me.
Absolutely, I do. Yeah. Well, see, there's this thing, the inevitable thing of being half native is that when the summertime comes around, it doesn't take a whole lot to get that tan initiated. Yeah.
You look good. I mean, I look pasty. I look at, but then we Brits are pasty.
Well, this is what I was going to say. You don't look bad. You just look British.
Yes, that's right. And there's nothing bad about being British. So people say, not me, but so other people say.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, side note, how are you guys doing in the World Cup?
We're winning 4-2 at the moment.
Oh, that's nice. Is the other team playing?
We beat Croatia 4-2. I thought it would be 2-0 to Croatia or even 3-0, because I like to try and be pessimistic and then be really pleasantly surprised, which I was. So we won 4-2. They didn't play well, but they are a good team. We're definitely going to get out the group, and that is really what I'm hoping for, and all I'm hoping for.
Well, you know who's also hoping to get out of the group? Shakur Stevenson. See how I did that there?
Beautifully. What a segue.
Shakur Stevenson, as obviously, has gotten out of the group, and he's signed a new deal with Zuffa. Good for him. Absolutely. And he's really trying to get this Devin Haney fight. Now, the problem is that the WBA has stepped in, and they are not too happy about trying to make this happen. And they're saying that Devin Haney should be fighting Keyshawn Davis. Now, what do you do if now put yourself, Steve, I want you to put yourself into Bill Haney's shoes for a second, because we're not talking about Devin Haney's shoes for a second, because Devin will do what daddy says. We know this, right? They're an independent promotion. So that means that Bill's got all the power in this one. What do you do in this situation if you're Bill Haney and you have this to navigate for your son, Devin?
You've already made the decision that lessens your options, because, if you are with Zuffa Boxing, then you're going to have some trouble with sanctioning bodies. He would like the Devin Haney fight. That's sorry. He would like the not the Keyshawn Davis fight,
the Shakur Stevenson fight.
The Shakur Stevenson fight. What's the matter with me? It's the heat.
It's the heat.
It's the heat. It's nearly 30 degrees here. Yeah, Bill would like his son to fight Shakur, but what they're talking about is a catch weight. And I've podcasted about this because, I'm an old head. I'm a purist. I have said no belts up at a catch weight. Thank you very much. I don't want a belt at a catch weight. So it'll have to be, well, I mean, I don't know, because you want to get that job done. They're going to have to meet in the middle on weight. Do you do it for no belts at all, but for who is the best in that general area? Because people will still buy that. Or do you say, I think the Keyshawn Davis fight is not dead in the water, but it's much more difficult to make now that they're aligned with a certain promoter. So I think that it's going to be Shakur Stevenson at that catch weight for no belts, but for loads of dosh.
I think it'll be both. And here's why. I think if you're Bill Haney, you got your hand in the pocket. You're trying to get all the money that you can as quick as you can. And the money to keep everybody happy right now is that fight for the belt, and that's Keyshawn Davis. Shakur Stevenson isn't going anywhere. There's lots of options for him inside of Zuffa Boxing for him to fight right now. But if I'm Bill Haney, I'm looking at my kid and I'm saying, you're going to fight Keyshawn Davis first. because then that does one of two things. Either, if I'm Bill, I think my kid wins that fight. Now it puts even more power in his hand because there's really nobody left. So he has all the power he thinks. But I think he loses that fight. I think Keyshawn Davis can beat Devin Haney. I absolutely do believe this. I think that he's got a longer reach, and I think that he can keep him at that. Now, then what that does is that does absolutely nothing other than it gets rid of the belt, because that fight with Shakur Stevenson is still there for Devin Haney even after a Keyshawn Davis loss. So then he takes that one, because as long as he's an independent promoter and an independent promoter is his dad, he can still do business with Zuffa. And I think you can make both of those things happen before March of next year.
Oh, absolutely. And I take your view, but I don't think Davis beats Haney. I think Haney's wilier than that. However, I don't really. No, I was going to say we haven't really seen him tested, but we have. He's come through real tests, and I think that he wins that fight. And then I think it's. But you're right. His dad has power anyway, because then you say, okay, look at me look at my son with the gold round his waist, and you know what are you going to pay for that now to legitimize yourself, particularly as your big boss would like everybody to get along. So let's talk about having that kind of melting pot where we all just cuddle up together.
Well, and I mean, there's kind of a reason for that, though, Steve, isn't there?
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about it. You brought it up, and yes, Turki Al-Sheikh would like nothing more than for all the promoters to get along. I think this would be a perfect opportunity to do that, because I think you've got a lot more of an opportunity to do this one with Zuffa. Really, what this is Zuffa trying to get put into the mix. Right. And there's a lot of moving parts on this and why I think this should happen. But this one in particular, trying to get everybody to get along, I think you've got a much better chance of it happening with Bill Haney and Haney Promotions, certainly more so than you do with Oscar De La Hoya, because Golden Boy seems to be a real holdout on this one right now. And they've got a lot of issues going on because of the talk that's going around with Conor Benn and Ryan Garcia fight. I think for myself, and tell me what you think about this, but I think that Oscar De La Hoya thinks that Ryan Garcia gives a shit about his contract with him, because I bet he doesn't. At the end of the day, it's already been proven how much Ryan Garcia is willing to sit there and go, yo, yeah, this guy who says he's my boss, he can suck it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and Ryan Garcia is unpredictable, and he's someone who will do what he needs to do for himself. Plus, let's also add something else in the mix. He doesn't need this Conor Benn fight. Right. The Conor Benn fight is not an exciting fight for him. Let's be clear. Eddie Hearn was right. I know it was a jab at Conor Benn, but he's right. Conor Benn is not that well known in the US. He's not. He's well known in this country, but not in the US. And Ryan Garcia is not sitting there thinking, oh God, if only I could get the Conor Benn fight, my career would be made. That's a career-defining fight. Not many people are going to care in the US. There's a lot of other bigger fish for him to fry. This is a bump along the road, which he wins, because for Conor Benn to boil himself down, it's not going to be good for him. And so I think Ryan Garcia is thinking, yeah, okay, I'd like that. I'd like to take that fight. I can make something of it. But it's not as if he's thinking, I'll go to my last mile to make that deal.
I think that he makes that fight. I think that he thinks he's going to get through that fight, because I think Ryan Garcia really wants the fight with Shakur Stevenson. That is a fight on paper that sells a lot. I think that's the one. And I think this is where this is where the screw over comes in. And this is why we haven't seen stuff. Think about this for a second, Steve. Everybody's waiting for Devin Haney and Bill Haney to make this decision, right? So let's say that Devin Haney has to make this decision where he's fighting Keyshawn Davis. Boom, he makes that decision. Then Ryan comes in, Garcia, and says, I've made the decision to fight Conor Benn. They make that right around the same time. Ryan goes in, beats Conor Benn no problems. But then let's say that Haney doesn't win that fight against Keyshawn Davis, or even if he does. Now they're both looking to make that fight with Shakur Stevenson. Which one do you think is a sexier fight for a U.S. audience? Devin Haney versus Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia versus Shakur Stevenson.
For your clicks and your casual fans, the Garcia fight, because he's really going to mix it up on social media. You know, he's not been tugging at or jabbing at Conor Benn on social media, all that, because I don't think he really cares. But I think he would for that fight. And I think that for boxers, I'd want to see the Haney fight. But for clicks and casual fans and money, I think you do a huge fight with Ryan Garcia. And what you do is you say, here's the cultured boxer, here's the kid who's going to mess you up. That's what you do.
And I think that these are the kinds of talks with these are the kind of promotion things that His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is trying to say, these are the things we need to do. Because at the end of the day, outside of Oscar De La Hoya, all the other promoters don't really have a tie for their biggest guys in the United States. And everybody's going to have to, remember this. All of this fighting that's going on with Eddie Hearn and the Tyson and AJ stuff, and everybody needs to remember that Dana White is that tie. He's the biggest tie. This is what pisses off Oscar De La Hoya as well, is that automatically Dana is a bigger tie to sports combat entertainment inside of North America than he is immediately in boxing. And the British guys want to get over there, and they don't want to play nice with them. This is the problem. So His Excellency is trying to get all of this stuff together because he's made the announcement, unfortunate announcement. We know back in what was it, 2015, that he was diagnosed with a bunch of different cancers and everything was doing what it was supposed to do. But recently he's been diagnosed with brain cancer. And we'll see what happens with that. If anybody has the means to know everybody in the world, literally, who can help in these types of situations, and the financial situation to make this happen, literally, with anybody in the world, it's His Excellency. So hopefully he gets better on this one. But do you see this as I need to do this before I go? This is like his last, I got to bring all of this together. You know what I mean? For the world of boxing, this has been his main goal since day one.
Yes, but you also have to be cognizant of what happens afterwards, because people are thinking, well, because he's a real boxing guy,
right?
And there's a pot of money that he's been using for boxing, and it's become more selective recently, and that's fair enough. But do you have someone, if he's not well enough to carry on, and hopefully he survives and is well, but perhaps he's not well enough to carry on in this kind of role, then is there somebody else standing in the wings who says, I love boxing too? Or is that person going to say, well, I'm a real fan of shuffleboard, so I'm going to put all the money into that? Or shuffleboard? Is it shuffleboard? Yes. I think he needs, I think he wants to make 3 fights before anything happens. And God forbid it does. But 3 fights. I think he wants to make the fight we mentioned. I think he wants to talk to Oscar and make that fight. He wants to make the Garcia and Conor Benn fight. I think he wants to make it work and make it more accord with the Fury and Joshua fight. And I think he wants to make Benavidez and Opataya. I think that's what he wants to make. I think they're the 3. Because they would serve those Zuffa big heads as well. Mm-hmm. I don't mean big heads arrogant. I mean big people. And I think it would also be an example of, well, these are the major holdouts, so I can do this, and everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy, just like any other situation where daddy comes in and he's got to pull the family together and tell everybody, sit them down and say, hey, if y'all want to be left in my will, you're going to have to learn to get along, right? This is what happens, Steve. We see this time and time again in real life. But we also see the downside of it, of what happens afterwards, because once daddy's gone, and everybody, all bets are off the table. And it's the day of the funeral, and everybody's in the bedroom fighting over jewelry that they think was rightfully theirs. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what will happen. These promoters will go back to baseline and just being rotten at your throat human beings again. So what kind of like guarantees do we have that anything that Sheiky can put together is going to be worth it?
We don't have any there, because what they're gonna have to do is say fold everything in together. So have a universal boxing organization.
Wild.
That's what he might say. You can all come together, including DAZN, and I know we'll call it a universal boxing organization.
Well, they already have it.
We'll all do our own thing.
They already have it. It's called Ring Magazine. It's the one recognized championships amongst all of the guys, which is literally, if you think about it, it's the championship of a magazine. But everybody, the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, all of these alphabet soup, governing bodies all think that theirs is the best, except when it comes to that Ring Magazine belt, because that one says you're the best of the best, it seems like, right?
It's a time-served belt, yes. So you may say you lead with that, but it will need, I mean, those alphabet organizations are going to need to be compensated in some way. Mm-hmm. Promoters will be promoters. So they will say, well, what fights can you give us? Oh, they're tasty. 5 fights for me, 5 fights for Oscar. They're tasty. And you say we can do our own fights as well. I'm in. But those alphabet organizations are going to say, but I need to be compensated. What you're really telling me is that we're finished. It's over. So we're going to need some cash. I mean, remember, this is what Dana White did say at the beginning, mm-hmm. that he wouldn't work with those. And, a universal boxing organization would, of this nature, would create that, wouldn't it? And we could all have a great big melting pot.
I think for some of the old heads, like the Frank Warrens of the world, that works out great. I think for guys like the Zuffa doesn't need the money. Oscar just wants Ring Magazine back now at this point, because it's the Cinderella story for him. It's the one that got away, right? But I think for guys like Ben, like the younger promoters out there, I think they would take a deal like that because they would think that they could take that money and invest it back into their product. But I think the guys like the holdouts of it will be guys like Oscar and guys like Eddie.
Yeah, but the thing is that DAZN are already kind of saying, look, we're still at the party. They've done Saturday night fights, which, they announced it. And I went, Saturday night fights, how brilliant. And then I thought, aren't they already doing that on every Saturday night anyway? Yes, they are. What a great way to promote what you're already doing. But they are saying, well, we're here. And if you thought we were going away, we're not. Frank Warren said it, after the Ryan Garner fight, on last night, in Southampton, he said, this is boxing. If you thought it was finished, you're very much mistaken. This is boxing. It was great. And you're right that people like him will just carry on doing what he's doing and might have some kind of promotional link to that UBO, but we'll carry on doing his own thing, and actually will probably come out better off.
And I mean, they tried this once before. With unifying all of it, and somebody got butthurt about something. Because at the end of the day, they just can't remember the underlying message that we all try to say with boxing, right?
When it comes to the children, Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
That's always been the message.
Gervonta Davis has never said that. Gervonta Davis has never said that.
Yet. The paperwork is still. I think that's going to be the new, as Tank comes back, he's going to be Tank is for the children. He's always been for the children. He certainly isn't for the spouse. I can tell you that. Tank has never been for the spouse.
I can't possibly comment on that. But I hear you and you alone talking about that, and nobody else.
Well, yeah, sure. I'll take the heat on it. Send your messages to the Bees of Boxing with Steve Swift.
You know, you're such an arse. You really are. I think that I was really. I mean, either way, guys like you and I who enjoy talking about the business of boxing win, because either you're still going to have that kind of battle of, you know, he said, she said stuff, or they're all going to huddle together in a big tent and start throwing punches at each other. One of those is going to happen. I don't think that Turki can ever really bring them all together. He'd love to, and money talks. But as you say, down the line, someone says, hang on a minute, you're getting $1 more than me. I thought my dollars were going to be ironed. Why aren't they ironed? Why are they crinkly? It's going to be great.
Yeah. Could you imagine that inside of that will, though, Dad decides to leave it all to Dana?
Yeah.
Let's say that Dana has now worked out a deal with Sella to be that guy going forward to handle the Riyadh season stuff. Would it surprise you if something like that happened?
No, not at all. I mean, it doesn't look like Turki Al-Sheikh's going to do that, right? I mean, it looks like he wants to bring everybody together because he's into boxing, and that cannot be denied. But I think if he starts and people go, have them and that and all, I'm not coming anywhere near you, or start to, and he might say, all right then, okay, come here, Dana. How about this? And Eddie, in my will, you get the stables. That's it.
Could you imagine? Now here's my question before we go, because we've got to wrap this up. Here's my question for you, though. What does this do to the boxers out there that are trying to make that crossover, or the MMA guys that are trying to make that crossover that can't get their appeals taken care of over fights with Alexander Usyk? Yes, Rico Verhoeven, I am looking in your direction. Does this open the door even more for this kind of stuff, or does it close it even more?
Oh, it opens it. Oh, it opens it absolutely, because although Dana White says, you know, when Dana White says, I'm not interested in that, you know that he's absolutely interested in that. You know, when he doesn't mention it, you know he's not interested. Or when people think he must be, he isn't. When he says, I'm not interested in anything like that, because he said before, I'm not interested in boxing. Well, you are part of a boxing organization now. And I think that although he says, I don't really care about that, I do think he's interested in it. And it's I mean, it's not misfits, is it?
No.
Verhoeven versus Usyk is not misfits. It's been given some legitimacy because of the WBC. The fools. But the thing is that he's got to stop whining about this, Verhoeven. It's never going to happen.
No.
Now his appeal's been denied. And this is great because the Middle East Boxing Commission, they decided this. And this is a fantastic point. Okay, Mark Lyson said he didn't hear the bell. The timekeeper said, yeah, he called it off after the bell. Let's be clear, that's a procedural issue. So we're not going to run this back or overturn this, because the referee can stop this fight at any time in the competition. At any time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stop talking about this, Rico. You clearly don't understand the rules. That's really the undertone of this that I detect. It can stop it on the stool. It can stop it during a round. Stop talking, Rico. Go home and prepare for another fight.
Problem with that I see is that I think that as he watched this fight back, he realized there isn't another fight. I think that if he gets in there with any other boxer other than a guy like Usyk, who's out there to have a good time, I think they don't take it serious, or they take it even more seriously. I think that he feels like the same thing could happen to him that happened to Francis Ngannou. That first fight with Tyson Fury was, oh my God, this is fantastic. But that second fight made us all realize, oh yeah, there is a different level to all of this. I think maybe Rico Verhoeven realized that, and he's going to go back to throwing leg kicks, which is the smart move, the smart money. But get paid, Rico. Absolutely get paid. Shout out to all of the rest of them, because you got to remember one thing.
Come to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
You know, I don't even know where that came from, Steve. I have no idea at this point. But I will say, yes, I am.
That's like Floyd Mayweather saying, I didn't know there was no money in my account when I signed that $200,000 check, allegedly.
Well, I mean, listen, apparently he's got a fight come. Oh, no, he doesn't. Oh, but he's going to have this other fight. No, he doesn't have that either. Well, his only fight is trying to figure out where he's going to get a next fight from right now, I think. Floyd, give us a call. Listen, if we say it, it comes true, because that's what we do here on the Bees of Boxing. And one thing you got to remember, as much as you don't like it, it's the truth. So remember, folks, tuck your chin.